For the past year now, I've made my podcast with a company called Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First, it's free. That's right, it doesn't cost you anything to make your own podcast. They have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your own podcast right from the computer or your own phone. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and every other place. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's really easy. You'll have your podcast up and running in no time. Go to Anchor. Welcome to Beer in Front. I'm your host, Dave Zalatoris. Every week I'll discuss a beer that maybe we've forgotten along the way while we accumulate check-ins and our badges. Some weeks I'll feature a new beer that has potential to be a classic. Being from Chicago, I'll talk about some local beers I had during the week. I'll add my spin to events of the day. And at the end of the show, I'll call out the jag-offs of the week. This week's beer will be St. Bernardus Prior 8. That's Beer in Front, coming up now. Welcome to episode 56 of Beer in Front. How is everyone doing? Now this week we're going back to there's no interviews, no guest spots. It's just all Dave. So this will be your quick Beer in Front that you're used to, a good 15-20 minute episode, but there are a lot of jag-offs. So I don't know. But yeah, this won't be the Zack Snyder extended cut Beer in Front. This is just your basic normal Beer in Front. In beer news, that's pretty exciting. Alarmist, they won the gold medal for an hazy IPA at the Great American Beer Festival in 2018 with their Le Jus. And in 2019, the same award was won by Old Irving for Beezer. And now last week, Alarmist tweeted out that they're joining forces to collaborate on a beer. So you have to figure that's going to be a great one. That's something to definitely look forward to. It looks like we could add Flying Dog to our list of just shitty breweries, shitty people. Rumor is they had a meeting with Beer Culture to work on a collaboration beer. They, meaning Flying Dog, walked away from it, and then they released on their own a beer called Culture King. That's just shitty. That's just lousy behavior. It makes people think that this actually is a collaboration when it's not, and you're keeping all the money to yourself. Flying Dog, you're a bunch of jag-offs. I haven't had your beer in a long time, and I'm not going to have it anymore. You're just a bunch of jag-offs. Today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space, so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co, podgo.co. And be sure to include my podcast, Beer in Front, in the How Did You Hear About Podgo section of the application. And some really good beers that I had this week. I had the Columbia. Now, this is a Bock from Seipp, so it's called the Seipp's Columbia. This was really good. I like their pale. This one you should try. So if you see it, you could pick it up everywhere. It's the Columbia from Seipp's. I had another great lager from Hopewell. They keep they're knocking it out of the park. I had their Verified. That was excellent. I had Maintenance Vito hooked me up. He was up in Wisconsin and grabbed me a bomber of Hoppa Lapa from Grumpy Troll up in Wisconsin. This was a really good old school IPA. So if you want to go back in time and remember what an IPA was like in the early 2000s, go up to Grumpy Troll and get a Hoppa Lapa. Oh, and like last week, I'm really going back in time. I'm going to have as my beer in front today the St. Bernardus Prior 8. Prior 8 is an Abbey beer brewed in the classic double style. Prior 8 has an ABV of 8%, and this is in a 750 milliliter bottle with the cork and cage, so I'm not sure about the sound effect on this, but let's give it a try. Oh, wow, that has a killer aroma on this. Yeah, the aroma is very fruit-like, and I can't quite put my finger on exactly what it is, but it's a fruity aroma. The flavor's excellent. You know, the taste, there's a lot going on here. You get the fruitiness from this. You have the malt, it's a dark, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned this earlier. It's a nice brown color. So it's a dark brown, dark reddish color. So you get like the caramel malt, you get the malt, the taste, and it's hard to put my finger on this. It's very fruity, and I almost get like a grape soda in this, and I get apple. There's a lot going on here, but it's all really good. Yeah, that's excellent. Good carbonation on this. It's almost over carbonated, but not to the point where it's a gusher or anything else. But I've had this one actually, it's been sitting for about a year. So I finally busted this one open. I'm not sure exactly. It's not like they put, bottling dates on these, but they say you could store this up to 4 years. And like I said, I've had this one sitting for about a year now. So it's really good. It ages well. The St. Bernardus Brewery was founded in 1946, so they definitely qualify as old school. If you see it, if you're looking for something a little different, I definitely recommend the St. Bernardus Prior 8 Belgian Abbey Ale. And I'm sure if there's anyone in Belgium that listens to this show, they're calling me a jagoff for saying grape soda. It doesn't taste like a grape soda, you jagoff. That's what I tasted. St. Bernardus, Abbey 8. Check it out. Oh, there have been plenty of them. I'm riled up. There are a bunch of jagoffs of the week. The great American poet Ted Nugent, author of such classics as Wang Dang, Sweet Poon Tang. Now, this great American patriot, the guy that shit his pants to avoid going to Vietnam, which you could have just said you had bone spurs, but no, he shit all over himself to avoid going to Vietnam. Now, he was saying that he wants to know how come there were no shutdowns. He doesn't believe that COVID is real and it's all fake, but he wants to know how come there weren't shutdowns for COVID 1 through 18. Ted, the 19 is for the year it was discovered. There were no COVIDs 1 through 18. Do you think there was a maroon 1 through 4? Jagoff. A judge in England has decided that revenge porn is free speech. Former Congresswoman Katie Hill sued the Daily Mail because they published she did not consent to it, nude images. So the Daily Mail published it. Katie Hill sued the Daily Mail for this. And the judge says, well, no, that's free speech. What kind of nonsense is this? Jagoffs. And I don't care. There's no disclaimer here. You're not listening to me in England. Whoever the judge is, you're a jagoff. The defense attorneys and all these so-called expert witnesses that are coming to Derek Chauvin's defense, and they're trying to say that maybe the exhaust of the police car was a contributing factor and it wasn't Derek's knee on George Floyd's neck that killed him. And his defense attorney, well, maybe COVID had something to do. No, Derek's knee had something to do with it. Jagoffs. Wyoming Senator John Barrasso, he said on the Senate floor that the number one topic that he's hearing about traveling the state of Wyoming is the situation at the U.S.-Mexico border. Senator, I find it hard to believe that throughout the state of Wyoming, that's what people are talking about. Jag off. Umpire Joe West was awarded $500,000 in damages in a defamation suit against a former All-Star catcher. Now, Joe West sued Paul Lo Duca, saying that, it was defamation of character, and this could keep Joe West out of the Hall of Fame. I've watched Joe West umpire since the mid-'70s. Paul Lo Duca's not keeping Joe West out of the Hall of Fame. Jag off. Former Heisman Trophy winner and NFL great Eddie George has just become the new head coach of Tennessee State University. Now, Eddie George was known for his career at Ohio State University, and he played the bulk of his career with the Tennessee Titans. He played the last season in his career with the Dallas Cowboys, and the Dallas Cowboys tweeted to congratulate him on becoming the new head coach. And this is from the Dallas Cowboys. While the Dallas Cowboys are never short on current superstars, their legacy was built on legends. Eddie James becomes the most recent legend to join a collegiate staff as head coach. His name is Eddie George, not Eddie James. Jag-offs. The douche canoe Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy. Now he's going to create a free speech platform because, Twitter and everything else, they censor speeches of these idiots. But Mike's going to create his free speech platform called, I think he's going to call it Frank Talk. And it's all free speech. But he's going to ban swearing and taking the Lord's name in vain. Mike, I don't think you understand what free speech means. Jag off. Hack TV host, former host of Dirty Jobs or whatever, Mike Rowe. This is a guy that only cares about himself and making himself look good. Now, he is saying that increasing the minimum wage may have unintended consequences, and that unskilled jobs are simply not intended to be careers. Mike, one, you've never worked a hard day in your life. You don't do manual labor. You were a singer. You were an opera singer who lied to get a union card back in the day. And then your whole career is based on advancing you and you only. You don't care about anyone else but yourself. You're a jag-off. You were the person that crossed the picket line because you felt that more people should know about your show, Dirty Jobs. You've tried to bust unions every chance you get. You're a hypocrite and you're a jag-off. Oh, one of my favorite congresswomen, Lauren Boebert of Colorado, says the only gun policy this country needs was written in 1776. Lauren, you know the Second Amendment was written in 1791, don't you? Wasn't written in 1776. You should maybe take a test on the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, things of that nature. Lauren, you're a jag-off. Another great congressman from Florida, Matt Gaetz, he said, in spite of all of his troubles, he said this weekend that if you want something done, hire a woman. Matt, I think that's why you're in the trouble. But no, wait, you didn't hire a woman. You hired a 17-year-old girl. Jag off. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, another one of my favorite people in the world. There was a really good article, and you should read. It's from the TampaBay.com website. Now, Governor DeSantis is saying that, there should be signature matches to be eligible to vote. And the TampaBay.com website showed Governor DeSantis' signatures over the last, I think it was 12 or 13 years. None of them look alike. So, Ron, I guess you're not eligible to vote? Jag off? Oh, but I talked about him a little bit last week, and I'm going to keep hammering on Georgia Governor Brian Kemp. Brian. I know you didn't make Papa Trump happy when you certified the election, that you swore that everything was legit. I know you're worried about your future. So now you're doing an about face and you're making all these new election laws and everything like that. You're trying to kiss up to daddy. I know it's hard for you, Brian, but you're just a jagoff. And after Major League Baseball moved the All-Star game from, I don't know what it's called now, SunTrust Park. It was that when it opened a couple years ago. And I think it's called Truist Park or Truist Field or whoever the corporate advertiser of the day is for the baseball stadium. After MLB moved the All-Star game away from there, you're saying how this is hurting or how this will hurt minority-owned businesses and the woke mob is doing all this. But first of all, Brian, now you weren't the governor when this happened, but you know as well as I do that the Braves only moved there 2 or 3 years ago from a perfectly good 20, what was the stadium? Not even 25 years old, Turner Field, because they didn't want their fans to have to drive into the city to see the Braves. So don't talk about minority-owned businesses after the Braves already moved to a lily-white suburb with no transportation for the fans that live in Atlanta to go out and see the games. You're not worried about that, but now you're worried about minority-owned businesses. Governor Kemp, you're a jagoff. And since now you're all of a sudden concerned about minorities, why don't you do something about that tomahawk chop bullshit they do too? All right, that's going to wrap things up for Beer in Front this week. I thank everyone for listening. Look how quick this is. We're only at like 16 and a half minutes right now. All right, thanks for listening. We'll see everyone next week on Beer in Front.